Afternoon, YouTube. So I'm going to do something a little different today. I'm going to talk about something that's bothering me, all right? Usually I talk about vehicles. Well, this is about vehicles. I have officially came to the conclusion that I am an analog man living in a digital world. So, a little background on this. I love computers. Don't get me wrong. I work on computers my spare time. I build them. I enjoy them. It's something I like to tinker with. It's fun. I work on them in the military. I retire in less than 3 months now. But I really like computers. Um, we've been running into an issue with Echo's 2016 Trailhawk, right? So she's got a 2016 Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk 3.2 liter V6 VVT. It's got the four-wheel drive package in it. It's got all the bells and whistles. Hold on. It's got all the bells and whistles. So it's got all these fancy safety features in it. Rear-facing cameras, drive-by-wire technology, four-wheel ABS, speed sensors out the wazoo. Well, this week, her figured it out. It was a driver's side front wheel speed sensor went bad. $38 from Mopar. Nobody else carries them. Went down to Hill Kelly today. Got it. Fine. But the last about week I've been driving her car. She had a medical procedure. She can't drive. The Cherokee, right? My Cherokee, the Rocinante, and the MJ, it's 100 something degrees, don't have AC. So I've been driving her for the last about week and a half since she had her surgery. It's just a little more comfortable. But the more I get into this Jeep, the more I realize that I don't like them. So I'm going to give you a couple things that I don't like about why I think a lot of our problems we have today. All right, so I get into the vehicle, right? Yeah, it's good. Got our fancy, the check engine light on. I haven't cleared the code. I just put the new wheel speed sensor in. I haven't cleared the code yet, so sue me. It's got its nice little display here. This huge radio system over here that controls your AC. It's got apps built into it, navigation, phone, controls, radio. I mean, it's got like a metric, it's got all sorts of crazy apps built into the radio. None of them I even use. The only one I ever use is media, play some heavy metal because that's what I do. Well, it's got 400 controls here. It's got all sorts of stuff up here going on in the dashboard. It's got buttons, buttons, buttons. And when you're driving it, you really have to take the time to try to figure out what the heck you're doing, why you're driving it. And it distracts you. Well, so we got all these things, right? Well, then we got the drive-by-wire throttle pedal down here. Oh, that's great. Then we got electronic shift on the fly four-wheel drive with four-wheel drive low. Ooh, that's great. It's awesome having a vehicle that has all these features, right? Say hi, Echo. Well, it's great. You got features, but they're distractions. So you wonder, look at the number of traffic fatalities and accidents that have happened in the past 30 years. They have not gone down. They have not diminished. Every time the National Trade, NTSB, NTSA, whatever it's called, puts in a new advisory saying we need to do this, what happens? The traffic accidents don't go down. Now it's because I believe people are more distracted now with all these fancy bells and whistles. They've gotten complacent as a driver. So, for instance, I'm going to give you a couple examples out of this Jeep, and then we're going to walk over to my Jeep and show you what I'm talking about here. So, drive-by-wire throttle. Ooh, makes motor go rev rev. Sounds like angry V6. You have no feedback from the throttle pedal whatsoever. There's none. There is no physical feedback. You cannot feel in your foot what the engine is wanting to do or what it's doing. I drove a 2022 Jeep Wrangler the other day with the 6-speed manual transmission in it. You have no feedback in the clutch. You cannot feel the friction point on it. I can put you into that Comanche that's got a 33-year-old clutch in it. It feels better as a driver than the new vehicles do. Why is that? Because we slap computers on everything. We try to make it so I don't know. Honestly, I did a wiring harness. I did a keyless entry on that same 2022 Jeep Wrangler. It didn't come factory with it. The person bought aftermarket. Vehicles today don't even have some vehicles today, like the Jeeps, don't even have an interior fuse box in the new Jeeps. They're all under the hood. So you have to physically run all your wiring through under the hood. Why? We have computers on everything. I'm a computer guy. I love them. I've already said that. I don't need a computer on my throttle pedal. Give me a cable. Give me a spring. It's more reliable. I don't have to worry about if the motor on the little servo that runs the throttle controller or the throttle body is bad. I don't have to worry about it getting stuck in an open position. And if the cable breaks, it's $10 for me to go down to the auto parts store and buy a new cable, and it takes 15 seconds to put in. It's clip it into the throttle pedal, run it through the grommet, clip it up to the throttle body, put a new spring on it, game over, we're done. Why do I have to have a computer running everything? Another issue. So this vehicle has backup cameras. All right, so I'm gonna let you look here, right? I'm not sure if it's gonna really do it justice. So I'm gonna close the doors. This is my view from the front door. And you can see right where my head's sitting at, you can see I've got my mirrors adjusted correctly. I can see the outside edge of my vehicle. I can see around. I don't really see over the hood that well because the way it's designed. I can see over here to this window, right?
Yeah, you can't see how far front you can go.
You can't see because the motor sits up so high. You can't see your stop point. But look at the amount of, so I've got dead blind spot, blind spot, blind spot, blind spot. My window over there is the size of a stinking, I don't know, a box of paper. This whole vehicle back here is a blind spot. Yet I got a backup camera. Great. People are like, oh, it's got a backup camera on it, it's safe. No, it's not. The more you rely on technology, the more you rely on everything else to keep you safe, the more of a complacent driver you become. We talk about, in the military, we talk about things like ORM, Operational Risk Management, and the steps of ORM. One of those is called implement controls. You have administrative controls, which is training personnel, dealing with things like your people, training your people, preventing complacency through training. You have engineering controls. Anytime you implement an engineering control for the first couple years or first while after the engineering control comes out, and you can actually look in OSHA and see these numbers. I'm not pulling these off the top of my head. These are actual things that I've researched. Anytime you input and implement an engineering control to make something safer, you do get a sharp decrease for the first short period.
Because people rely on it too much.
But then people rely on it and people become complacent, and then your injuries start rising again back to their original numbers. Why? Because you put something in that made people complacent. So I'm going to show you the backup camera on this, and then we're going to go sit in and I'm going to show you one other thing that really bugs me about this Jeep too. We'll get to that in a second. But I'm going to show you the backup camera, right?
This is the backup camera. I'll go stand in place.
All right, yes, please stand in the rear. So I'm sitting here, right? Here's my view, driver's seat. Rear view mirror is that big. Not a very good view. I'm going to put my vehicle in reverse. Mind you, she's sitting back of me, so here we go. My backup camera, right? That's a pretty good backup camera. You see my blind spots. And she's disappeared. I have a blind spot that even my backup cameras can't hit. So even turning my head in this vehicle, I can't hardly see all the blind spots. The more you've put this technology in place, it's made people complacent. Instead of designing a vehicle that has visibility, ease of maintenance, and reliability, you've made a vehicle that's more dangerous in all intents and purposes. I hate to say it, my 67 AMC Rambler out there is probably safer than most modern vehicles. I don't have all the safety features, but when I get into it, the vehicle becomes an extension of my body. what do I mean by this? So when I get into a vehicle as an analog person in the digital world, I like feedback. I strap the vehicle to me. I make it an extension of the way I drive. Feedback through the throttle pedal, feedback through the brakes, feedback through the clutch, feedback through the shifter, the steering wheel, so on and so forth. It lets me know the road conditions as an inherent driver. When I'm driving said vehicle, I'm always looking 4 to 5 car lengths ahead of my vehicle that I'm driving. Why? Because now I am actually wearing the vehicle like it is my own second skin. It's part of me. When you get into a modern vehicle today, you don't have that feeling, so you become complacent. You're distracted. I have 50,000 different music radio stations on here. I've got heads-up display on my dashboard, but I can't feel what the vehicle's doing. So you see where my point is here. So we're going to do one other thing, and then I'm going to show you what I'm talking about with the Cherokee. So another thing that bugged me today, I had to change the sensor out, right? And the sensor is on the front driver's side tire. I already threw the old sensor away. I won't even show it to you. It's a pain in the butt. It wasn't hard to change, but so that's on this Jeep. These are bolts. These are no longer studs that you put a nut onto. That's a bolt that goes all the way through the housing. Now, why in the hell did Stellantis Chrysler use aluminum covers over a steel bolt that the aluminum covers swell and you literally have to use a hammer to pound the lug nut wrench onto them? I had to, and mind you, these covers do not come off. They are stamped onto the back. But they were so swollen on all 4 corners of this Jeep that I literally had to take a hammer to the lug nut wrench to pound them off. Echo couldn't do this on the side of a road. She's got medical issues. Why? Why not, instead of trying to make this fancy chrome aluminum covers, why not just cast them and then chrome the bolts? There's a smart idea. The other thing is why are they using bolts through the tire instead of studs? When you got it up on jacks, it's kind of easier just to slide it up over a stud than try to get the tire up onto that little center thing, get everything lined up. You know, we walk over here, and yeah, this has got the aluminum covers on them, but I can get these off. These are studs with a nut on it on the end of them, lug nuts. Why am I putting a bolt through it? Must be a European thing because I don't understand it. Maybe I'm just too old for this job. So here I'm going to show you about visibility in a vehicle, right? So I'm going to sit in a 93 Cherokee. Now this is what I consider a prime example of a good driving around town vehicle. Why? Because here, check visibility here. I'm going to even shut the door for you guys. Simplified control scheme. I have everything I need to know about my vehicle right there. Simplified controls for AC. Look at my visibility on this. I can see my blind spot very easily. My mirror gives me plenty of visibility for the rear end. Plenty of visibility side. Look at this. I have one little tiny space right here that I can just tilt my head left to right and see around it. Well, we're going to look to the back. Look how much visibility you have with something like this. I can literally be driving down the road, glance over my shoulder while I'm driving to change lanes. I cannot do it with the new vehicle. I've strapped myself. I make the vehicle an extension of myself. It's the only way to safely drive. It's like a pilot. When a pilot gets into an aircraft, he becomes an extension of that aircraft. That aircraft is a part of him. Fighter pilots do what's called flying by the seat of their pants because they know exactly what their aircraft's designed to do and they feel it through their body. They feel the mechanical feedback. This thing has an EMT. There's no drive-by-wire here. Drive-by cable. I can feel what the engine's doing as I'm getting in and out of the throttle. On the Comanche, I got a little, I got the other pedal here, the Millennial anti-theft device. Feel these things. And maybe I'm going on a rant, but today has just been, the last 2 days driving her Jeep's just been kind of annoying me about these things because the more I drive it, and I guess it's not a bad vehicle for a modern vehicle, but it's just, I looked at a couple other vehicles today when I was at Hill Kelly picking up the wheel speed sensor from Mopar. And I've been looking around because I'm really thinking about telling her just to get rid of it because I don't trust it. But honestly, we're talking about trying to find us another one of these mid 90s to late 90 Cherokees and getting another one just as a daily driver. Because I don't trust the new vehicles. They're too distracting, and yeah, maybe my Cherokee doesn't have airbags, but I feel a lot safer the way I drive and the way I know how you're supposed to drive driving this vehicle than I do a new vehicle. Sorry about this, guys. It was just something that's bugging me. I wanted to get off my chest, but hopefully in the next couple of weeks, next week or so, I should have an update coming out. The dashboard is going to be getting removed out of this Jeep, probably starting Sunday, if I can get the time to get it out. I've got the new AC evaporator core, or the AC evaporator sitting in the house right now. I'm going to be taking that out, removing everything, cleaning up it all. While I've got it out, I'm tempted on pulling the carpet out of this thing and throwing it up on the fence and pressure washing it. I might break out the metal hot glue gun too. I've got a hole in some rust in the back rear passenger floorboard that needs to be patched up. So I might break the hot metal glue gun out then too and do some updates on that. But that's where we're sitting at right now. Sorry it's been a little bit since I did my last update. Echo's had some medical stuff going on, and I've been working 2 jobs, so I've been kind of swamped. But hey, have a great week, YouTube, and I will hopefully catch you this weekend. Deuces.